Good afternoon and welcome to Midday Majlis with myself, Sahar Mushtaq, here on Mirror Business FM, where conversations connect and ideas come alive right at midday. Before we dive in, remember that you can catch us live on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and Telegram. And also, our podcast is available on all your favorite platforms. You can listen to them anytime, anywhere. And as you know, that here on a Midday Majlis, we bring you conversations that matter in real time. So today, we're looking at a topic that's both sensitive and deeply relevant. With a temporary ceasefire extension maybe in place, there is still a sense of uncertainty across the region. And in times like these, the role of media becomes even more critical. But while the media carries the responsibility of informing the public with accuracy and balance, the industry itself is also under pressure. Newsrooms are stretched, decisions are faster, and in many cases, people within the media industry are directly affected. So, joining us today to talk about it all is Mark Thompson, Chief News Editor at Gulf News, to help us understand not just how the media is covering the conflict, but how the conflict is impacting media itself. Welcome to the show, Mark. It's really good to have you with us here on Midday Majlis today.
Thank you. Real pleasure to be here in this fantastic studio. And as you say, in an uncertain time, but a time that may bring opportunities as well.
Yes, indeed. And let me just begin with asking you first, Mark, how has the ongoing conflict impacted the media industry from your perspective?
I think in times of crisis like this is where media comes to the forefront. So on the 28th, when it all began, I got a phone call. I was walking around Dubai Mall at the time, I think around 10 a.m., from my managing editor to say, you might want to get out of the mall and get back to the office because...
And it was a weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was with my son, and we, as everyone else, we didn't know what was coming. Quite surprised. There's kind of some rumblings of things happening, but we didn't think it would be that sudden and that fast. So from that hour until now, we haven't stopped. You know, as media organisations, it's our job to be there 24/7. The news does not stop.
Yes, it doesn't.
We call it the daily miracle in the office because when you think about how news operates, especially newspapers, there's no business like it. So from in the morning, we start the day with an empty newspaper. We fill that newspaper up. By then the day, we get that to the printing press. We get it from the printing press onto motorbikes to deliver it across the city, well, across the UAE. And then within a few hours, that whole process starts again. So,
wow, it's just a lot.
Yeah, some people think about news as kind of an organic thing that happens, but there's a whole industry and manufacturing behind it, especially on the newspaper side. And then you overlay that with social media, digital media, the website. And since the war began, what we've seen is an incredible hunger for information. So we've gone from, well, last month, to put some figures on it, we had 17 million people visit Gulf News. When you consider the population of the UAE is around 12 million. That's a phenomenal penetration, but also it shows not just that these brands are here.
Wow, that's a huge number.
It's big. It's
big.
And it shows that we have international readership as well. And yeah, since war began, what we've really focused on is getting that information out there because we can see the appetite, you know,
Right.
when the warnings were coming and everything else, and people wanted to know the developments. So since the war began, it's just been a relentless time, I think.
Definitely. And you're right about it. It all started just with a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And who would have thought, you know? And for me as well, it was just a similar situation as yours.
Yeah.
That I was actually, clicked on Zoho and I was said, how about we start posting news? And because we don't do it on the weekends, but we did start that weekend and
Yeah.
then we never stopped.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how it has been. And well, I think we as media, you guys, including us and all the other platforms who do news here, we've done a great job.
Yeah, I think so. And I think one of the great things about media is we do compete in certain areas. Media organisations, I think, take pride in what they do. They want to be first to things. They want to have the best front page, the best homepage. But I think media is also very good at acknowledging each other and pulling together and realising that at times of crisis, a lot of it is just about getting the right information out there at the right time. And I think especially in the UAE, what I've seen, because my background is in the UK media, in the UAE media, there's a real focus on verification of news as
The
well.
accuracy of it.
Yeah, it actually
Yeah.
is really big here, and we don't do the gossip, the speculation, especially times like this. It's really important that people are across brands getting accurate information, timely information, information that they can actually make real world life decisions on with trust. And I always go back to that word trust. I think we live and die by trust.
Well, yes, we do. And now moving on, we often talk about the media is reporting, but not always about what's happening inside newsrooms, right? So, have there been any real impacts on jobs, staffing, or job security in this period of the crisis?
Sure, just to kind of go back a little bit in terms of how that staffing works. So since day one of the conflict, we've had a live blog going on the website. We've had pretty much 24/7 staff around the clock updating that because, as we know, in the UAE, we're kind of at the center of the world. So the Asian markets wake up, and then obviously the UAE news happens, and then obviously quite big at the minute is the American market. So there's a lot of happening overnight with Donald Trump tweeting and other things overnight. So we've got to have people on board. So staffing wise, we've had to make sure that we've had real coverage all the time, and that is tiring and exhausting for people. And we've been trying to make sure people get breaks and time off because as journalists,
That's very much needed.
we all jump
Yeah.
in and we get excited and we all want to do it. So that's been a big element of what we've done. Like a lot of businesses, and one of the challenges we have as an industry, and I think this is what happens in conflicts. It does put commercial pressures, and while we've had huge audience, that comes with commercial challenges because people may not want to advertise as much during conflicts. For obvious reasons, they put kind of pauses on their spending. That spending, I'm sure, will come back.
All
and we
because
start
of
seeing that.
these uncertainty.
Uncertainty,
being
yeah.
around.
People, especially at the beginning, people didn't know what was going to happen. Thankfully, and all praise to the leadership here that we have felt very much defended and safe. But in those first few days, it was a shock for all of us, and I hate to call it like the new normal, but we all kind of get used to what that was going to look like. So I think with that comes a lot of businesses contracting and thinking, let's just hold the fort, see what happens, and then we'll kind of get back to normal. I think we are starting to see that open up now. But unfortunately, kind of in those early weeks, we did see contraction. So we have had to make some tough decisions in the office. But I think those decisions are also part of how we are transitioning the business.
Right.
So it's not just about, we need to save money, to be frank. It's about how do we change how our workforce looks, because we know that we have to transition as a business. Newspapers have declined across the world. We all know that. But digital is a huge opportunity for us. And as I said, with 17 million people come to the website, you can see the appetite. And arguably, titles and brands like Gulf News have never reached more people. The trick is how do we monetize that? And as a business, made that a real big revenue stream for us so that we can continue to invest in even better journalism.
Right. Well, you're right about that. There's so much that takes place during the whole day. The Asian market opens up really early. I would say midnight our time,
Yeah,
right?
midnight, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Wall Street closes really late our time as well.
Yeah.
So with so much happening so quickly, there is constant pressure to be the first, as we
Yes.
have also discussed. So how do you balance the speed with, of course, accuracy? Especially in times of conflict reporting.
We, so as I say, my background's in the UK. That was very much about sometimes speed over accuracy. So you just want to be first, and then it was all kind of like check it afterwards.
Right.
But here,
It's the other way
it's the other way
around.
around. We are happy to be second or third, as long as we know that it's definitely right. Because especially times like this, misinformation or the wrong information can be really dangerous as well.
Yes.
And it can spark fear,
And
it
it
can
can
spread rumors.
cost you so much as well.
Yeah, yeah.
We were told that, for any fake news that goes
Yes,
out,
yeah.
right, we will be fined and given a
Yeah.
penalty. So we all have to be very careful.
Yeah, yeah. And I think more for the readers than anything else, because I came up with a bit of a slogan during the time of when it matters most, trust Gulf News, because I think at times like this, people people want quick information, but they also want to know that what they are reading is correct. You can go on social media, as I'm sure you do, and there's a stream of consciousness of different brands, celebrities, influencers, fake accounts, and it's almost impossible to know what is real.
And with the AI being around as
And
well,
AI as well, yeah,
right?
which adds some
There are
into the mix.
pictures and videos being generated by AI, which are total fake.
Exactly, and this, so it's really important for us that when we see things like that on on social media, that we check it instantly, that we make sure that we have that on an official record before we start even thinking about creating content. Is that right? Where's it from? Can we verify it? Can it be 2-3 sources where that came from? Because if we can do that with every article, it means that our readers come to us knowing that if it's on Gulf News, we know it's correct. And that to us is worth more than being first, because being first can be being wrong. And I think it only takes a couple of those things to happen, and people think, well, I might not go to the Gulf News as much anymore because I'm not sure I can trust it. If people come to Gulf News, see everything we produce and think, this is bang on, it's factual, we fully understand it, we know it's consistent, that will make people come back more. And as a business, it's like running a shop. We want more people come through our door each day and walk around the shop and buy goods. It's no different to a website. We want more people to come to our website, go around the website and look at more articles. And if we get that right, that's what the future of the business is.
And for myself as well, I am now looking at Gulf News almost every half an hour. That never used to be a thing. Like once I'm done from work, that is it. I do not look at the news till, after midnight to prepare for the next morning. But now it's just that, constant, I don't know, it's sort of like, I don't know, it's an addiction, I guess, to the news that I have now.
Yeah.
And it's really strange. But because we all want to be informed, and there's, as we say, there is one news that comes a moment, and then the other comes a moment, and still like nothing is really clear. We're just in the extension of a temporary ceasefire, right?
Yeah.
And all this started end of February.
Yeah.
And as you and I and Faraj were talking about it just now, around that time also we faced the floods.
Yes.
Lots of rain came in. So how is it to manage during both the crises?
Yeah, that was really tricky for us. One of the reasons was because of the floods, we worked from home that week as well. Well, for a lot of that week, just because people traveling on the roads at that time just was impossible, wasn't safe. So we did the right thing. We had all of our journalists at home, where they could be with their families, etc. But so that makes it hard because communication is really key in the newsroom. I love walking to the newsroom each day and seeing the journalists, and we have meetings and we bounce off ideas. It's a bit of a flashback to COVID of, being on video calls, and it just makes that communication a little bit harder. But the team did an incredible job. They, again, just worked around the clock, put the extra hours in, and we're constantly updating the website, which at a time when we also were in a conflict, and then with the floods on top.
The weather was so unpredictable.
Yeah, I'm fairly new to Dubai.
I think we
anyway.
want to erase that one whole week of rain from our calendar, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, I've said to the guys in the office that, if we get through that week and we do a good job, we can take on anything.
We can.
The world's our oyster.
And as Faraj said, we should have it put on our resumes, right? That we can work through the rains, the floods,
100%.
and the alerts all at once. And from an editing perspective, Mark, the responsibility is huge again. So what are some of the most common mistakes media professionals should avoid in times like these?
I think one of the big things I see brands do is they can go into themselves. So I think they can focus on the updates and agency content, etc. And they're getting the news out there. But I think what people want to see is humans. I think it's really key that people are out there. They've got their faces on camera. They're writing opinion pieces, and not just telling the news, but showing people that we live it. That I've been telling the journalists in the office that they live and breathe Dubai and the UAE. They have the same challenges as everyone else here. They have the same emotions. We've all been through the same roller coaster in the last several weeks. So why don't we tell people that we are a news brand, which is authoritative, but also we are a bunch of people who can be expressive, be emotional, and speak to our readers as we would a friend. And that's the key thing for me, and that's where journalism, I think, well, the future of journalism is. It's not in just directly telling a story; it's humanizing a story. Because in a world of
Living through it.
lived experience. We've seen here. We all live here. That if you look at the international media, how they've covered the conflict, it feels like a different world. I speak to my friends in the UK, and they ask me ridiculous questions. I keep saying that's not how it is here. Like, I can tell you that because I live here.
Yeah, my family in Saudi as well.
Yeah.
They've been looking at fake news from all these different parts of the world, and different media is reporting different things, which is totally wrong and fake. And then they come up with these crazy questions.
Yeah.
And they were even suggesting that I come back to Saudi because
I've had a bit of that.
that was one of the things. But it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I think that's where
they made it look like.
Yeah, I think it's where just having that human element to say we are here on the ground. We know how you feel. Our kids go to school as well. We travel on the same roads. We went through the same floods. I think that's really important for that trust again, because people trust humans. They don't necessarily just trust a name of a brand.
True.
They trust the humans behind it. So we need to be out there showing it. And as you said earlier around AI, which obviously challenges a lot of industries, not positively and negatively, that human element is even more important, because if we can have a video of somebody on Kite Beach saying, "Hi, I'm on Kite Beach, this is what's happening, there's an event here, look at it," AI can't do that. And that's where we have to be as a brand. We have to be human, on the ground.
Yeah, so that human touch is really very important.
Incredibly, yeah.
And it's not easily replaceable by AI for sure.
No.
And there's also an emotional side to this. Journalists and editors are consuming distressing content daily. And how does that affect teams? And how do newsrooms cope up with that kind of a situation?
Yeah.
I myself, because I'm an editor here and
Yeah.
I do the news, so I do feel like there is so much going on, and I sometimes feel anxious. So, and I think that's very much normal.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
And I wrote a piece in the newspaper recently to our readers saying, have a news break. Even as a news brand, it's important for people to sometimes just have a weekend or a day and just switch off and get away from it. And because it is, over the last several weeks, it has been intense. So in the newsroom for the reporters, we've been really focused on trying to get them time off to make sure that, we're all journalists, we all get excited by the news and we all jump straight in. And for the last several weeks, everybody wants to work because everyone wants to do their bit. And but then it's really important that people jump off that horse now and again and just take a breather, relax, because they'll come back as better journalists as well for that. So having those breaks, we are, even mentioning to our team that, through the health insurance, there is counselling as well. So if people need, anonymous, off the record, just a chat with someone, which is I definitely encourage, because we don't know what we've been through as well, because we've all been living on adrenaline and caffeine for the last several weeks.
Yes.
Sometimes it can just feel that you do just need to maybe just stop for a moment, have a chat with somebody else, take some time with the family. So we've been encouraging people to still take holidays, take loo days, have weekends. I think those breaks are really important, and make sure those breaks are not just sat at home watching the news, because that isn't a break. It needs to be a break where you are away from the news.
Probably doing an
out with the family.
extra activity, maybe outdoors or something.
Yeah, and especially now with the ceasefire, which, touch wood, keeps going and ends up in peace. There's a lot to do now. Before the weather gets too hot, there's great deals out there. There's lots of hotels and beaches and go
One
and
of the
enjoy
good
it.
things is the deals, by the way.
It is. Yeah,
These short stays, the getaways, the deals are awesome out there.
Yeah, that's
which can be, of course, used to kind of relax and detach from the whole news environment.
Yeah, while supporting local businesses as well, which is really important. That we should be going to the coffee shops, the restaurants, because they rely on us to keep going as well.
Yes, they do. And do you think audiences have become more critical or more cautious about the news they consume during conflicts?
I think they've become smarter in terms of seeing behind the curtain, of understanding how media works. I think when I started in digital journalism, which was kind of the beginning 20 years ago. It was no one, including myself, no one really knew what we were doing in terms of creating Facebook pages,
Yeah, there
Twitter
wasn't much of
accounts.
an awareness, I would
Yeah,
say.
and people didn't, and then people didn't understand what fake accounts and fake news, and I think that kind of started with Facebook, then migrated to Twitter, where I think now, I speak to my sons. My sons are 7 and 9. My 9-year-old, he talks about AI, he talks about fake news. I think he's going to be a future journalist. But he understands the internet in a way that I never did even at that age.
Kids are way more smarter than us,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. But I think that's where brands play a key role as well. Like yourselves, like Gulf News, that if people know it and trust it, then it feels like a safe place to go for information, which is really important. I think social media, I think everyone probably agrees now, it feels like the Wild West. And we are seeing, bans on mobile phones, social media in some countries, Australia, I think the UK is starting to do it now, other European countries, because I think they're starting to see that information can be dangerous if it isn't verified and it isn't checked. And it's just an onslaught of content that, as you say, you don't know if it's AI slop, if it's a fake account, if it's people with an agenda as well, which is even more dangerous, especially times of conflict like we have now. That we see a lot of things on social media and we have to check it out, and we know that's come from somewhere that has an agenda against UAE, and that's really important that we are there to vet that information. But people going just to social media without that understanding, it can be really dangerous. And I think we are partly seeing that in some of the issues around the world at the moment.
But with the rise of numbers that you have shared for Gulf News, I think people are more smart, as you said now,
Yeah.
and they are coming back to have a look at the
Yeah.
verified, accurate news more than relying on those fake things that are out there.
Yeah.
And Mark, in times of uncertainty, moving on, language becomes crucial. So, how do you ensure that reporting remains responsible, balanced, and it doesn't unintentionally escalate tensions?
Yeah, I think that's a really big focus in our we have a morning meeting every morning, obviously. And that's a real big focus for us when we talk about the agenda for the day and the content coming, that we want to be in a position where we can tell people information, but in a very matter-of-fact way, but with an element of humanization around it to make sure it's not just doom and gloom. It's not just, this is, we don't know what's going to happen with the peace talks. We try and put some experience behind it and some explanations behind it to say there's a lot of fake, fake information out there, but there's also a lot of hyperbole out there as well from
Dramatic.
all parties as well, from the
Yeah.
governments, from the US part, Iranian part. That's just part of conflict, that you're going to get this information that comes out that sounds big, it sounds scary, and if you just read that on its own, it is daunting. It will give people anxiety. So we need to have that balance where we can try and explain of why these things happen, why people are saying what they are saying, why people are acting how they are acting, and that tries to give some context around it so people can feel that they're not just getting told the news, but they are getting some depth to it as well. And people might
Which
not
is
see
very
that.
important.
Yeah, 100%, especially now where we don't know what's going to happen. And people ask me all the time, what's going to happen next? I wish I knew, but all we can do is try and explain where the chess pieces are in a way, and what we think is happening and why these things are happening at this moment in time. And obviously with the UE leadership as well, they put out a lot of information, which really helps as well, kind of clarify situations, which is really important as well. So we put a lot of onus on that of when those statements, quotes, information comes out, we give that a lot of presence so that it can give readers an understanding of where this country is positioning itself also.
Right. And Mark, for young journalists or media professionals watching today or listening to us, what advice would you give them about working in high pressure environments like we are now?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think one is you have to love the job and you have to love media. I left journalism for around about a couple of years ago, and I didn't realize how much I missed it until I came back. And even at times like this, which we don't want, it feels like an honor, it feels like a privilege, it feels like an exciting job to do. And I think that's the key thing, is like for all industries really, if you want to do it, make sure that you really love it. and that it's something that you
Yeah,
understand.
they do say that if you like what you do, it doesn't feel like a day working.
Yeah, it does. Every
Right,
time I
so
walk into the Gulf News newsroom each morning, I still get kind of a tingle. I still get kind of like those, my hair stands up. I feel kind of excited, and because there's nothing like a newsroom. And as you're saying, kind of, how do we deal with things during the conflict? Is a newsroom it's a team of people. That's what makes it so exciting. That people pull together at tough times, and you actually have a lot of friends, a lot of colleagues. Everyone has jokes and things. Still has that atmosphere. So I think if you want to get into this industry, make sure you love it. Make sure that you understand that sometimes it is long hours, it is hard work.
not sometimes, I would
A
say,
lot of,
especially these
yeah,
days. Yeah.
you do get criticism. It's a very public-facing job. A lot of people will like what you do. Some people won't like what you do, but you just got to believe in what you do. So I think if you have that excitement, that belief, and that energy, I think it's a brilliant job to do, and I'd recommend it to anyone.
Believe in what you do
Yeah.
is a great one from you. And now, finally, as things continue to evolve, what role do you think media should play in the coming weeks, especially when there is uncertainty still on the surface that we see, but also a need for stability?
Yeah, I think our role is one to continue to tell the truth of what the situation is and try to keep explaining that. But the other role is that we are really proud of where we live in the world. And this week I think we've done a great job of covering the schools going back, and we've had some amazing videos and photos of kids and teachers smiling, and parents probably smiling even more. We've had Global Village open,
Yes.
and the excitement around that. And what I'm really hoping, or what we get so excited now, is all the other reopenings, all the excitement's going to come. We know that times have been hard, but we also know that nowhere bounces back like this place. And that's the hope, that's the excitement, that's what we want to do next. And our role in that is to be that platform that allows people to see that happening and give those companies, organizations, schools a platform to shout about what they're doing, because we all know that everyone's doing a lot behind the scenes to keep going, to reinvent themselves, to get ready for the big bounce back. It's our role now to be a platform to tell those stories.
It is. And as you said, it's really good to see life coming back to normal,
Yeah, 100%.
despite the fact that we are still in a temporary ceasefire. So imagine once we do have the ceasefire,
Yeah.
and how are things going to look like? Just amazing and great once again.
Yeah, I think it will come back quickly. I think, there's nowhere like Dubai, like Abu Dhabi, like the UAE. We've seen before, obviously, the financial crisis, COVID.
And we've seen GCC overcome it
Yeah.
right away. So
Yeah, I mean, and as you say, we don't know what happens next. It's a temporary ceasefire, but I think we all live with optimism and hope, and we can see the energy as well. I think driving around the city now, it feels a little bit different. You can start feeling some energy coming back. We actually had our first big event last night, Women in Leadership event at Taj on the Palm. And it was great seeing 200-300 people in person doing an event, getting excited, and you could feel the energy in the room of we're ready to come back. We just need a bit more certainty, but hopefully, touch wood, over the next few days, weeks.
yeah,
we'll see
inshallah,
that.
we hope so. And
Inshallah.
as you said, let's just be optimistic and just, kind of like be ready
Yeah.
for good things to come,
Yeah.
as we are. Thank you so much for joining us, Mark. It
Thank
was
you.
really great
My pleasure.
talking to you. And you've given us so much clarity. And while the media has responsibility to inform, it's also an industry, you said, navigating its own challenges. And in times like these, of course.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And to our listeners, staying informed is important, but is understanding the effort and responsibility behind the news you consume. So stay with us for more conversations here on Midday Majlis. This is Mirror Business FM.
Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk.